Good evening and welcome to the Weare Selectmen's meeting for the 26th of August, 2019. Would everybody please rise for the Pledge Allegiance? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're going to forego the public comment for a little bit. We have some presentations of some awards to make to some citizens and former patrolmen in town tonight, and I'll turn that over to Chief Moore.
Thank you very much. I have an order I'll read first, which describes the incident which the awardees will be receiving an award for, and then I'll be presenting 3 individual certificates. On July 20th, 2019, at approximately 10:05 p.m., Officer Matthew Belletet, Officer Chad Averill were dispatched to 320 Colby Road for a medical assistance call. On arrival, they observed Miss Ashley Thorgerson performing cardiopulmonary resuscitation, CPR, on a patient who was not conscious and not breathing. Officers took over CPR rescue efforts and applied automated external defibrillator, or AED, shocks to the patient. Life-saving efforts were continued until a pulse was detected and members of the Weare Fire and Rescue arrived to take over care. Prior to the patient being transported, she was breathing without assistance. Due to Ms. Thorgerson, Officer Belletet, and Officer Averill's life-saving efforts, the patient survived the incident and they are awarded a Weare Police Department Commendation Bar for life-saving for their actions. Officer Matthew Belletet, and this will be his 2nd award. Officer Chad Averill. Thanks, Chief. Yep. Thank you. And Miss Ashley Thorgerson.
Yeah, sure. Do I stand up here? Okay, sure. Cool. She got home about a week ago. She is fully fine. They said she wouldn't really remember much, but she remembers everything. So she will make a full and 100% recovery. So she just wanted to say thank you guys. She would be here, but everything is still healing. She had a quadruple bypass, so she's gonna be okay.
Great to hear.
Thank you. Now, public comment.
Frank Campana. I'm here, not as much for public comment, but for looking for a response from the board from my request of your last meeting in regards to an agreement as opposed to the word contract being used.
Yeah, we addressed it later on that night, but we can address it again. Because the same information was actually asked during the day from a resident, asked almost the same questions that you asked.
I hope it was after me.
No, he asked before you.
Okay.
He had sent it in an email.
Okay, well, I don't do that, so,
And
okay.
so, I guess I'll tell you what we told him.
Okay.
Because I don't remember your exact question. First and foremost, there is no end date to the contract. Secondly, that it's an agreement, and there was no intention as to not follow past practice. Actually, the chief didn't even want an agreement with us because he felt he didn't need one. But due to prior history that we had with Mr. Rigney, we were cautioned as to we put something in writing between us so there's an understanding. So we did it.
Yeah.
But there was no intention of, there was an indication, and the question that we were asked was there was an intent to skirt the issue of the 2005 article. There wasn't any intention on this part. We just felt it wasn't a contract, as the article said. It was an agreement. And the agreement was just something we kind of put in writing as to what he's going to get, his expectations and our expectations, and that's what this merely is. We also had a public hearing, if you remember, prior to even hiring him, as to what we wanted to see in our next chief.
Correct.
I think you were here.
Correct, yes, yes.
And every quality that everybody asked for, with the exception of one thing, this gentleman had. The one thing he didn't have was he wasn't a New Hampshire resident, but now he is.
Mm-hmm.
He's moved here, he's only been on the job for 2 months, and he's moved to New Hampshire now. So, and the other question was asked is, did we run it by town council? We ran it by town council, but not the idea of public hearing. Because the prior agreement that we had was used a different attorney. So he wasn't even aware of Article 54 from 2005.
Okay.
So there was no intention, there was no skirting. I mean, the agreement's pretty simple. You've read it. I think you have a
I
copy of it.
do, yes, I do have a copy. Thanks, yeah.
You know, and I think the intent was to just lay out what he's got and what we expect of him, and what happens if he doesn't do what we expect. We were cautioned that way because you were here when Miles was here, and there was no agreement. There was no sort of any indication, and the only way that you could change that was to have it done at town meeting. That's how we went to an elected chief.
Okay.
So there was no, you know, this gentleman has everything you guys wanted, other than he didn't live in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
And that was long before we even hired him. You know, we had that
Right,
public hearing.
but my only point being is, you know, as clumsily as I messed up the last meeting, you know, a contract by any other name is a contract, you know.
We didn't deny
according
that.
to- Pardon me?
We didn't deny that. It's just, we didn't,
So-
you know, I don't know. We had a public hearing already.
Right, but the public hearing was before the fact, as you well stated,
Sure.
to see what people, you know, were looking for.
Yeah.
But once a contract, now I will still use the word contract, once a contract is signed, now, and I know the board's somewhat reluctant to hold public hearing for, you know, for those types of contracts. But once the contract is signed, now you get the specifics,
Yep.
all right, to what, you know, you folks have agreed upon. And that's the public hearing, you know,
Right.
on the contract. So you could actually say, what you're making now is a two-step process. You know, what do you want to see in a candidate, all right? And agreement/contract. Now, there's no way for the public to come in and ask for specifics. I mean, let's throw this out. If he wanted 6 months vacation, you know, in his agreement or his contract, do you think that the public might not like to have some questions asked and answered, why you have 6 months vacation in a year?
Well, what was
So-
alluded to in the email by a prior resident, that Article 54, as written, was a petition article, which is no more than it's advisory. I know you don't like that word.
I know.
So
No
it's
more than-
advisory.
Yeah.
It's advisory. So
I know
we
that.
could
I know that.
have a public hearing if we did a contract.
Right.
I understand the whole Webster Dictionary, because you brought it with you. I don't know,
Okay,
that's the best I can answer for you.
okay. All right, well, I guess the only part of the public comment, and not really accusingly, I guess, don't misunderstand me, but somebody might have done their homework ahead of time and say, well, you know, I want this word agreement used instead of a contract. You know, it takes the erroneousness of the word contract, you know, out of play.
You can call it an MOU, you can call it whatever you want.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Yep.
Anybody else for public comment?
Good evening, John Van Walker Hill Road. Last meeting, you had discussed an email that I had sent to all you folks. One of the comments made by Selectman Hippler, who's not here this evening, is he was going to contact the Board of Fire Wards to see what they actually discussed, because their minutes are rather sparse in terms of the radio. Do you know if that's happened? I'd like to know what the select board's planning on doing. I know you guys discussed the contents of that letter in terms of the poor radio system. I'd like to know what you guys are planning on doing about it, other than just talking. I don't need an answer tonight, but I'd like to hear about that maybe next meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Tim Matheson, Vice President of the Weare Historical Society. I would like to thank on behalf of the Weare Board of Historical Board members, the committee volunteers, and the Weare townspeople who came out to enjoy and support the Weare Historical Society's Old Home Day. It was a great success. Thanks to all those and the Weare Board members and its supporting members for their dedication and time to make this event possible. A special thanks to the local and out-of-town businesses for their donations and support for the historical Old Weare Home Day. Thank you to the Stockhouse groundskeepers crew for their well-trimmed, weeded lawn care. Thanks to the library staff for keeping the building open for restrooms. Thanks to the Weare Police Department and the Weare Fire Department and EMS personnel to be on site. John Knoxville Alumni Car Show. The Weare Highway Department for providing a truck to haul away the rubbish, recyclables, and providing barriers and road cones. Again, the Weare Historical Society would like to thank everyone involved, to the people attending for a great, successful Old Home Day.
Anybody else? Okay, we'll move on to,
So if there's something on the agenda, when it comes up on the agenda?
it will be addressed at the agenda. We'll call it for it. Okay. Next is department head committee items,
The library gentleman's not coming.
and,
He
okay.
emailed me this afternoon, something else came up.
Okay, so,
But I do have, I was expecting Board of Fire Wards to bring over the manifest. They're meeting tonight at the same time, so, and I believe one of these is gonna be on it. SCBA sales and rentals. It was an expense for $724.21. It was shipping charges to send the SCBA equipment out for annual testing. The request from the fire chief is to take it out of the capital reserve fund for the air pack replacement. There's still $21,955.43 in that fund, and the shipping charges was $724.21. That's,
we need a motion for that?
you will need.
Make a motion that we take out,
Left-hand corner, Tom.
yeah, the left-hand corner, $724.21 from the Department Capital Reserve Fund for the Fire Department, and this is for the recertification of the SCBA equipment, and it was sent out to SCBA Sales and Rentals out of Linden, Utah. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Is that 4?
All four, yeah, 4-0, okay.
And then one other last thing, Benji put his crushing out to bid. There's really only one gentleman that does it. He left it out to bid to do July 29th. Still, he has nothing other than the one bid. So there's Iva Martin, who's done it in the past.
No, it's for the glass crushing?
It's for the glass
Okay.
crushing. And he'd like to award the bid for Iva for his price of $17,000 to crush the glass.
I'd like to amend the, this, it was for shipping and handling costs,
Yep, shipping
Yep.
charges.
not for the research.
Gotcha. So, I mean, there is only really one gentleman that does the glass.
He's the only one
And
that-
there's a whole mountain of glass to be crushed.
He's the only one that does it, I know, for every town.
Yeah, and we
Yeah.
tried to get other bids.
Yeah,
There
there's
wasn't
nobody
anyone.
else.
He's the only one.
The only one in the state that does it,
Yeah,
yep.
does it.
Okay, make a motion that we award the glass crushing bid to Iva Martin Crushing for the price of $17,000. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Right, that's all I
Place
had
to
for
sign.
department heads. That's all I had for the department head.
Yeah, we're gonna do that one more. Can we get one more motion for department heads, or are you done?
Oh, yeah, you.
That's right, no, I didn't forget.
Okay, you're up. You
Chief?
have to introduce. I'm hogging all the airspace.
So Chief Moore, Department of Police, I'm here to make a motion that I guess I can make a motion, that we hire Miss Ricker as our animal control officer. She's a resident of Weare, 2 years experience in the Pittsfield Police Department as both an administrative assistant and dispatcher. She's got a strong background in customer service. She's passed our background investigation, and she's currently a criminal justice service and has a strong propensity toward working with animals. So
And what would the starting rate be for that, chief?
$15 an hour, no more than $30 a week. But it's an on-call.
No more than $30?
Sorry, no
Hours.
more than 30 hours a week, or $15 an hour, or $15 an hour. Yeah, I'll be switching.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I'm still trying to get over the fact that I should have asked for 6 months leave, so.
yeah, okay.
Yeah,
And Caitlin is here tonight.
Yep.
She's sitting there. If you could stand up for everybody, please. Okay, thank you. Make a motion that we hire Caitlin Ricker as our next animal control officer, starting rate of $15 an hour and no more than 30 hours per week.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
What's that?
Effective.
Effective immediately, tomorrow morning. I guess that's immediate enough.
Look at the smiles in the audience.
Yeah. I'll send a letter to the chief of Nashua and tell him that you're more than happy to do dog calls down there.
Gonna vote.
Vote, yeah, it's
Yeah.
4.
It was 4.
Yep, 4-0.
Okay.
Thank you, chief.
Yep, so then we'll move on to agenda items, so if
Yeah.
everybody's gonna take off.
And,
So you can stay and join us. or
yeah,
you can
I'd
go.
I'd
Austin,
just
it's nice
like to
see
say
you.
right here, it's good to see Austin, and good luck,
Oh,
Nick, with
yeah.
your new position.
Yep. Bye.
Aye.
Good luck.
Okay, the next item is the town hall sign quotes with Mr. Clow. What good news or bad news have you brought for us, Tom?
Well, I'm disappointed the whole audience left.
I know.
Well, we don't count? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, you do, of course. Just a little background first. I came before the board on July 29th at your meeting to get the board's go-ahead to contact the trustees of the trust fund to see if there were funds available to replace the sign. During the week following that, before I met with them, I made contact with 3 different sign companies. One in Hillsborough, Main Line. Those are the people who did the new library sign. Other one's in Bradford, Roberge. And I hope you had a chance to look at the website that I forwarded to you, because it really showed some good work that was done. And then Henniker, I won't mention the name because the person has done work in town, but had some health issues. And so I didn't push it as far as getting an estimate from him because of that. He had some pretty serious health issues. Then the following week, on August 14th, I met with the trustees of the trust fund and explained what I had in hand, and we talked about the sign and what their expectations might be. At that time, I had two estimates in hand, one for $6,375 and one for $5,800. But both of those estimates were with it mounted with aluminum posts, black aluminum posts. I heard from not only the trustees but others that they would prefer to see granite posts there to kind of match the other things that are in town. So I went back and got estimates for the granite posts. So I've got a packet for each people here, each of you, and then I'll run through that.
Thanks, Tom. Oop.
Careful.
Oh, yeah, knocking the signs over.
Thank you, John. Okay, yep, thank you.
So first is the letter from the trustees verifying that they approved up to $8,000 to replace the sign. The second packet is from Robert's Signs, and there are three parts to that. First is his mock-up of what the sign would look like. It would be the same color as the library sign, which he referred to as process green. And the printing and the little doodads on it would be in the gold leaf. So I don't know if people can see that, but probably not. Second, he breaks down what it would be. Basically, what I said with the size equal to what's there now. And just as the picture shows, the letterboard below would have 4 lines that would accommodate the letters that we already have, the 8-inch letters. Now, he estimated it with the granite posts at, and the granite posts that he estimated would be a 7x7 post. Now, I measured the posts that the library sign has, and they're about 6.5 by 6.5. But maybe it's the same thing. Maybe they're cut to 6.5 when they're 7-inch, or maybe they're 7-inch. I don't know. But that's what we're looking at there, is the same size post. Mm-hmm. Now, the total price from him with the granite posts is $7,870. Now, if you just put that last page of his proposal aside for a minute, because the main line gave me an estimate, and with the granite posts for them, they recommended 10 by 10 granite posts or 12 by 12 granite posts, and the 10 by 10 granite posts would come to a total of $9,000 with all of the signs, and the 10 by 10 you'd have to add $425 to that. So hearing that and their recommendation, I went back to Roberge and said, okay, Clark, this is the story. Yeah. And so if you look at the last page, so I asked him about the 7 by 7. And just to read it, I know you can read it yourself, but hi, Tom. I can see a design improvement with a larger post system as proposed, although I'm not sure why, in 2 ways. Engineering, 7 by 7 by 144 found sufficient and successful under less conditions as proposed. Also, price and handling more costly on larger posts without really improving the overall objective. So I'm confident that the 7 by 7s would work. Now, in both cases, and I talked to Naomi about this before, we could get the highway department to remove the old sign, so that wouldn't be included in their costs. And also, one thing that was kind of disturbing about the last page there, the one from Mainline, is that it said, somewhere's on here. Our install manager has requested that the town highway department set the posts. And Mainline Graphics would then attach the signs, and he goes on to explain that they should be done in advance before they manufacture the sign, so that they're off a little bit. Now, that's not the process that was described to me by the other person. He would have his people here. He would like help if we could use the backhoe to lower them in, but then he would adjust the posts, and they'd use a combination of crushed rock and cement in the earth around them to hold them in place. So that said, if anybody's got any questions, I'm pretty sure I can answer them. Because I've talked to these guys innumerable times and gone back and forth with emails. And I think I already mentioned, in both cases, they were looking at the old sign being removed before they started their work.
Which we'd have to have the highway department.
Highway
Yeah,
department.
and
Too
I
heavy.
spoke to Naomi about that, and she didn't seem to think it would be a problem. So, I mean, I would recommend to you the Roberge sign company to do this, and I encourage you to look at the, if you haven't already,
I did.
look at
You guys,
the
did you look at
website.
it?
Yeah.
Look at the website, because he has done signs for the town of New London and the town of Tamworth, and I would recommend that, you know, a third person, Naomi perhaps, could check references rather than having it come from me before we go ahead with the actual project. But if I can, you know, get the tentative okay, let him know. He says 4 to 6 weeks, so we can have it in before snow flies. So, any questions?
I think that's, his price, Roberge's price is $7,870 is what it says. Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
I do have a question, which you may not be able to answer.
Okay.
Well, on the first page where it shows the sign, I'm going through the measurements and requirements, and it says crushed stone and cement added. Is that an added cost, or just,
No, that's added to the
Post, yeah, okay.
Strength on it.
Any other questions?
No, I don't think so. I don't have any.
Now, I know you wanted 3.
Yep.
I did contact 3. I got 2, and I think that it's not out of the taxpayer budget money,
Right.
similar to
Maybe-
the gazebo or other work that's been done that didn't come from public funds in that same way. So I encourage you to look at these 2 and go ahead with it from there.
And we do have a sample of the sign from
Yep.
one person, from the person that are
Oh, the other
looking at.
part of that, I forgot. Roberge said that while he is making this sign, if the Historical Society would like, he will take that and repaint the background of the Historical Society to match the others in that same
The library
process green. No,
No, the
No,
historical
our
society.
Historical Society.
which is faded pretty badly on
Faded.
one side.
The south side.
But he'd be
especially.
willing to do that along with this at not an
Oh.
additional cost.
Yeah, it says right on here. Also included Roberge refurbished historical sign with fresh painted background, process green as others.
So, leave it to you guys.
Okay, thanks, Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
You want to
Make a
vote
motion.
on it? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
might as well. I think it's pretty cut and dry. I make a motion that we go with the bid from Roberge Signs of Bradford, New Hampshire, to replace the town hall sign, and the price is quoted as $7,870 even.
With the
That
funds
money
coming
coming
from.
With the funds coming,
trustees.
with the funds coming from the
Trustees.
Emma
Emma
Sawyer
Sawyer
Trust.
Trust, and, which had been approved by them. Is there a
Second.
second? All those in favor?
aye,
So, Tom, it appears that we have to have a 50% deposit. So I'll have to reach out to Linda. Says right on it, 50% deposit, remaining balance upon installation. 10% discount of the total paid if in advance. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to see Naomi call, was it New London and Tamworth for the
Yeah.
references?
Is that, the 50% advance deposit, is that hard and fast, or is that something he just puts on his invoices, or his contracts for, is that?
I just
formal?
accepted what was on the contract.
Okay.
See if you question it one way or the other. I don't think that's unusual.
No,
No, most of them do.
almost didn't do it.
He's gonna have to buy the granite.
Probably
Sign
go
he's
Yeah.
taking.
Swenson
Right.
or
Get the
somebody.
granite and go to, is it Swenson, the Rock of Ages in Concord?
Oh, yep.
And then when you send the check, maybe Naomi have something in there about they're gonna refinish the sign in front of the Stone Memorial Building.
Yeah, well, I think the check's gonna come from the trustees.
Okay, so you will.
So,
I'll check it out.
make sure with them. Okay. And nothing else under that. And the next item is the Sawyer Road, Class 6 road permission, 2 lots. Mr. Renaud.
Yep, he's here. No, Jack, did you guys talk about it on the 22nd? Because I didn't see it.
Yeah, we did.
Okay,
We talked about it briefly,
okay.
the planning board. But they knew, they didn't want to discuss it too much more because he was coming in here tonight, so.
Well, I didn't get any minutes, so it's only been
Yeah,
a few days.
and that's,
so.
yeah, Neil took the minutes.
So I did file last year for a variance, and they did approve that. I
Right.
think that was back in, what was it, September, October? Do you have that, Naomi?
You came in June, so I'm not sure when you filed, but you were in front of the board June 5th of 2018.
Right, and we received approval
The board.
on the variance.
Yeah, you received one, and then an applicant received one, correct? Because you're talking
Yes.
2 lots?
Yes,
Okay.
and the date was,
Hang on. $176 was done on June 5th. Did they both happen on the same? 177 was on June 5th. Were you guys here at the same night?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, well,
So it was.
they were both on June 5th of 2018 for lot
Okay.
177 and 176.
Okay, all right. I wasn't sure. I thought it was in the fall, but either way, it was.
Yeah, it was in the spring.
It was a while ago.
Yeah.
And then I was told to meet up with you, and then you were going to try to direct me as to, and Chip at the time was, just said to just sit and wait on everything until I got further direction from you guys as to how to move forward.
So you're here for both lots?
Yes.
Okay. Are you guys all familiar where he is?
Yeah, and, we had a map.
Sawyer Road.
Sawyer Road.
Right, if you come in off of Jewett
Road,
Road, and
it's-
then it rounds the corner and becomes Sawyer Road,
Yep, and it's down
take
there.
it to the right.
Yep.
He's on the corner is 177, and then up the street on the right is 176. And then the first house you come to on the right, I believe our police officer just bought that one.
I'm not that very well prepared, but I do actually happen to have the
Yeah, that's the septic design though, isn't it?
septic design
Yeah.
and the surveyed land showing the road and everything, so if anybody would like to look at it.
You guys might want us to look at it. I'm just looking at the tax map,
But
in this size.
Yeah. I didn't bring that. So, like that. You know, I know that the zoning board gave you a variance to let that, treat that like it's a driveway and not bring it up to certain standards. You know, it's a Class 6 road, and the issues being, I know down there has been drainage from the corner of Jewett Road and Sawyer. There's a culvert there that's insufficient, and the drainage there is insufficient, and that it's caused issues in flooding.
Well,
And I know that that was discussed at the planning board, and that was brought up there, that prior to anything, and Chip was still sitting there at the time, was that, those improvements had to be made and brought up before we'd even consider anything down there, and that the road, you know, we're not inclined to have another debacle of a road that's a town, Class 6, it's still a town right-of-way, that to have it turned into a driveway and then have other issues further down the road like we're having at times on East Shore.
well,
And
I kind of get an idea what you're saying. But I guess the question is what kind of issues are you referring to? Because if whatever issues are there,
I mean, they're giving you a variance to build down there, and I don't think you have to meet the standards as far as what the width of the road or doing improvements. Is there a maintenance agreement with anybody down there? And that's one of those things that,
Chair.
there is no
Those are the
agreement. There's no agreement with anybody.
so who maintains and takes care of the road?
I don't know, but it's been going on for 30 years.
Yeah, well, I mean,
And back in 2007, the last person to build a house over there did meet and get a variance.
well, that was then, this is now, and I mean, the thing is that
Yes, but
we don't want to end up in a situation where there's no backstop as far as, you know, any type of maintenance down there, so that if you don't have a maintenance agreement, who's gonna plow the road? So what happens if there's an emergency down there? If the road's not maintained, what happens as emergency? We gotta look beyond that, that if we have to get apparatus in there,
I understand that, but again, it's been existing, and people have been there.
that's-
And just to make note, the last person to get approval, 2007,
and that
was recommended to upgrade the road by the town.
Yeah.
And and he satisfied them, and they gave him approval. So there was-
upgrade, I don't know, I haven't got any record of that in front of me, but I know that was also brought in, that there had to be, for you to do that was, I know that there was a bigger culvert and drainage, ditches and so forth, and that hasn't been,
Nobody has clarified as to what should be done, and
well, I think that was clear at the planning board meeting, and I was there for that, and they
Okay.
didn't, and,
it was still.
and that was done, and Chip was there, that was one of the biggest items to be addressed, was that flooding at that corner and that culvert is insufficient, and it washes out, and that was one of the codicils before we'd even look at something like that.
Yeah, and to be specific, what culvert are we talking?
Right there at the corner. There's one right on the map, at the corner of Jewett Road and,
Show you this here? This is.
what's that? Right there. See? Right there. You come off of Jewett right to there, there's a culvert. That's what that indication is, there's a culvert. And I think you drive over it to your lot, so I mean, you can't tell me you don't know there's a culvert there.
No, I'm just trying to identify. So, okay, this is where it sits here. So we're talking about, because this is the last person to be, and they put a culvert here, just 30 inch right here. So
Where is it on this map?
my lot is this one, this
Yeah,
one.
okay, I'm looking for, what lot number?
178.
178.
He's across the street, it's
Yeah,
178.
it's right there, runs across on your property, 177 and 178, there's a culvert right
So
there.
this one here?
Yeah,
Okay, so that's a 30 inch.
and that has to be upgraded to the fact before we'd even look at it, for the simple fact it's insufficient for the runoff, and it washes out. It's washed out on either side of it. It's not long enough, and the road agent's even spoken to that.
I'm not an expert on this, but this individual, I understand, put that culvert. and
Well,
it's a 30
I'm
inch.
saying now is what the road agent, I don't care what happened back in 2007. This is 2019, and now for you to get that permit, you're gonna have to meet those requirements. So you're gonna have to contact the road agent and you know,
So it's this one here, not any other?
that's the only one that I'm aware of that was discussed, and that's the one right at the corner of Jewett and Sawyer Road.
Because I've never noticed that be the, I know this one, it seems rather small down here, 'cause it's only 12.
That's all the way at the end of,
Yeah. So it's on Jewett Road.
that's the only one that I'm aware of, and the other one is at the end of Deering Center and Jewett Road. So that's the only other
Highway,
one.
though.
That's on the state highway, so,
Yeah.
yeah, so that has nothing to do with this.
All right. So should I talk with somebody in the town?
You're gonna have to talk to the road agent
Road agent, okay.
and find out what he wants for a culvert, and you're gonna have to install that and put it, you know, to what the specifications are, and it's, like I said, that's one issue, and the rest of it is that, you know, the road's gonna have to be, you're gonna have to have some type of maintenance agreement with anybody else on that road, because who's gonna plow the road or maintain it? It's not gonna be on the taxpayers.
Again, it's just been going for 30 years, and there is no organized.
So nobody maintains that road?
Who plows it?
Who plows it?
How do you get out?
I don't know, these people have been doing it all along, I don't live there.
Sometimes you get out by snowmobile,
So, I mean,
literally.
yeah, all right, I believe it.
I'm not sure of that.
Well, I'm absolutely sure of it, because I've gotten out by snowmobile.
Well, we'll open it up to have you come up and make some comments in a minute, okay? So, but that's the basis for right now. And then you're gonna have to, you know, the deal with building houses down there, like I said, we have to also be aware of the fact that we have life safety issues that we have to meet, that if there's something goes on down there, we have to get the emergency responders down there. And they can't get down there if that road is impassable.
Then you're saying right now it's a life hazard for everybody living?
That and the standards that you have to meet, and that was brought up at the planning board about that culvert.
Yeah, well, nothing was really clarified to me at that point. It was
I
just
think that was pretty clear that night when we left there.
Yeah.
But was he here Thursday night?
No, I'm talking this Thursday.
Oh.
This was a while back, when
Okay.
Chip was still here, and that was originally discussed.
All right, well, I will check with the road people and see if they can give me a clearer direction as to what their suggestions are on that. As far as the culvert, then the
Yep.
question is then the road itself.
Well, I mean, the road's gonna have to have some type of standard for it, and, but get started with that first, and then we'll go from there.
All right,
The
so,
road agent can make the recommendations to you. That's his job, is overseeing the roads.
right, and that's what was stated in 2007, the same
Yeah,
thing.
well, we have a different road agent, and it's a different set of standards, so.
Okay. All right, well, that's good. I'm getting some direction now to
Okay.
what we see and where to start.
Did you wanna say something, ma'am, or
I just wanted to make sure.
could you
that-
come up and
Yeah.
just identify yourself, please? I take it you're the woman that sent us the email?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So I sent some of it, and I apologize because the rest of the neighborhood was supposed to be here, but they were gonna
Okay.
come to the last meeting, and they couldn't come tonight.
No
so-
problem. And some of the pictures, I guess everybody
I
got
saw
some.
them at home, yeah.
Yeah, so you saw what happened, the.
Yeah, the erosion and the,
Yeah,
Okay.
from last time. So what we just want to make sure is that if there's going to be houses that go in, that it's brought up to the standard that it needs to be, and somebody inspects that who's qualified, so that we don't have what happened last time, and we're still suffering from what happened last time, so.
yep, no, I mean, I understand that, and I know that's,
It's really frustrating.
now, is there somebody that does the plowing down there, or do you have somebody in that area?
When there's a couple people with plows, and when they're home and able to, they will plow. Otherwise, I've had to call my parents to pick me up at the end of the road. I've had to take the snowmobile to the end of the road. We have a police officer and a firefighter living there. Police officer hasn't been there the entire
The
time. but
firefighter lives down there now? Yeah.
Firefighter has told me that it is absolutely not passable for fire equipment.
No,
So.
I believe that.
Yep.
I've
And he's
down
been,
there.
I don't know if he made it to a meeting, but he did sign something at a meeting.
Okay.
So So we just want to make sure that if those houses go in, that it's brought up to the standard, that whoever builds the houses is brought up to the standard, because right now the traffic, it can't handle the current traffic.
Well, the other thing we'd like to see is somebody with a maintenance agreement, so that everybody gets together and decides.
We understand,
if you can
actually, that's been a
associate-
problem for people buying houses on that property, on that road, that they haven't even been able to get a bank loan because there's no maintenance agreement.
So is there some way you can get with the rest of your neighbors and have some association to look into that, or try and
We,
making roads for that.
only if
it'll
it's in our
make it.
best interests, and it's
Well, it would-
not if we don't have the road upgraded.
Well, I
to
mean, that
roads.
would be part of it, is probably
Yeah.
to get it so you could bring the road up to
Yeah.
standards.
Yeah,
but
we
now,
understand.
are we gonna require this gentleman to upgrade the entire road, or just
To the
his lot?
driveway.
To his,
It's usually to his lot.
To his lots,
This lot,
but those
Which would be the
culverts,
bigger part of the problem, I think, with the
Yeah.
culvert and the
That's where,
washout,
yeah,
right.
the two.
so he would have to come from the intersection
Of 149.
of Jewett and, well, I don't know where.
The intersection of 149 up, because the Jewett Road portion
Yeah, 'cause he's
is
got the two
mostly,
lots.
that, in the winter, that all glazes
He's
over with
got,
ice.
which lot? He's got 177 and 178?
No,
176.
he's got 176.
70,
Which lots
He's
is
got 177 and 176.
176 and 177? Yeah, so we can't make him go all the way up Jewett Road, but can, because there's two other lots there.
but even if that's fixed, currently, is that road passable for fire trucks and rescue squads
No, it's
up
not wide
above
enough.
that culvert, once it's fixed?
That's the main portion of the problem, is that hill going up to those driveways, and then that culvert that that floods. So when we know there's a flood coming, we all park on the other side of the
The
road.
culvert?
The other side of the culvert, and there's like a little spot, so there isn't, and actually, we all can't even fit our cars as it is. So I'm lucky I have my parents in town, so they can come get us out if we need to.
That's the widest point.
And we've had it flood over a few times since I've been there. But, yeah, and it does, it's so bad in the winter that if you have a rear-wheel drive vehicle, there's no way you're making it up there. And it's so icy at the bottom that you actually have to get some speed up at the bottom just to make it out, right where the bus stops there.
Yeah, I've been out on that road, and I just can't imagine a rescue squad or a fire truck getting up in there.
No,
It's
the
pretty
firefighter who
narrow.
lives up the road has told me multiple
Well,
times,
probably
there's
the
no
best you
way.
get
Narrow
would-
up in
probably
there.
the best thing you get would be the forestry truck.
Maybe,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of overhang
Yeah.
of trees and stuff.
I got
if
caught-
remember correctly.
I got caught down below a few years ago, and I had to go get my snowmobile and come down and sand the road so that I could get back up. So,
Okay.
and there's been multiple times, because it's only one car width wide, where you can't get out. So the neighbors had an issue, their car died, there was a tow truck there this past winter, I couldn't get out. There was somebody at the end of 149, it was like a box truck that had come off and slid in there, and they got caught in there and they couldn't get out.
Yep.
So that makes that means all of us can't get out, so. I remember, because I had to send a picture of my boss to work. By the way, this is what's in my way. There's only one way in and out of there.
Okay.
Sure.
When was the last time you flooded? That was a problem that you couldn't get through?
Oh,
I'm trying to think.
it
We went
was.
down there, the planning board went down there in the
When-
spring, and it was pretty, this past
Yeah.
spring, March, April, and it was pretty well.
When it comes over, sometimes when it comes over, it's okay, you can drive over it.
Over the.
It'll literally go
Over the
over
road.
the culvert that's there.
It's completely full.
Yeah, it's crazy, and it'll go over that. So it's actually, yeah, I know you haven't seen it yet there, but you will. The other thing is that that it floods down below where the water just comes
that's what I
over.
was saying, just
So we just know if it's
It's
coming.
gonna run off, but that's not us.
I've been
We-
there
we
since
don't-
2000,
You get a button,
one.
so that's,
but I've been on that road since I was a kid. My parents were friends, people who built up there.
Are you aware of the Beaver Dam?
Yep.
And is that causing a problem?
No, they took care of the beaver. Beavers are gone.
I think
Yeah,
we're
we
getting a
were-
little
we
far,
had to take-
little bit far afield of
Yeah,
that
that was,
discussion, so.
that was totally a different, that's not the
But-
problem.
So you sending him to see Benji first?
Yep,
He's coming back here.
yeah.
Couple months ago.
And then we'll run
They've
it
been
back to the
removed.
planning board, see if there's anything else, and we'll go there. They want to adopt
If you
those
look
other
around.
regulations, so.
Looked like it'd come down.
So he needs to know that.
Yep. So, okay, thank you very much.
Right, thank you.
And
We just
thank you
don't
for
want to
the-
have the same problems.
Thank you for the pictures, too.
Oh, you're welcome. I have more, but that was all I had this morning.
Okay,
Thanks, Lisa.
that's all the abutters. Okay, did you get,
So, no, so you understand what you have to do
you have to
next?
go back to, go contact the road agent as far as that culvert and what needs to be done. He'll give you the specifications, and then when you get it done, and he approves it, then you can come back and we'll go from there.
Yep.
I guess the question is, why wasn't the proper culvert put in when the fellow changed it?
No idea. I can't speak
He
to
didn't
that.
change it that many years ago.
It was 2007, so,
The culvert that's in there
Yep.
now is an existing, it was an existing culvert, and that's been there for a long time because the gentleman who was building the house up the road from us, when we asked for that, and whoever was the road agent at the time, and we don't know who, approved, and I sent you the video.
Yep.
That retaining wall, that came down within a year. That person filled in all of our, it said in the agreement from the town that he was going to maintain ditch lines and widen the road.
I know that was brought up also, that the ditch lines are not,
And they were never
they were,
maintained.
they were, he
Who was
did,
supposed to maintain them?
No, the person
Who
who was
did the
building the
construction.
house in
Oh.
2005-ish, maybe.
put the gravel and never,
He
and
never-
wiped out the ditches, so,
Yeah,
yeah.
he widened the road by filling in the ditches.
Ditch line, yeah.
Which we've tried to hand dig back out,
Okay.
but, yeah, it's been one problem after another ever since he was.
So I know that was also, that was also brought up at the planning board because of insufficient ditches in the road flooding, so. Okay, so you have to contact the road agent, go from there. Thank you.
You want his number? You want his number?
Yes, please.
Okay. Are you write it on there?
Sure. Okay. Inbox.
And his
I
name
don't
is
have any
Benji,
minutes.
yeah.
Which minutes are you looking
Road Commissioner.
He's the DPW director.
at? Okay.
And he's 529, 2469. They went Tuesday to Friday,
14,
6:30
8,
to 4:30.
Is he aware of what's going on up there?
I'm sure he's been with us for 15, 16 years, so,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Chris.
Okay, next is minutes.
Yep, I did get the 29th and the 12th, I just didn't get them to send to you.
Okay.
Okay,
So,
that's,
Yeah.
Okay, because I couldn't find them. I've been
I
looking.
couldn't either.
Just like you look for the officer in the picture.
Yeah.
Keep looking.
So we could do
So
the,
those two you'll have to do, I'll get those to you.
we'll do the,
I sent you the 14th and the 19th, those are the
Yeah.
ones that I did.
okay, so I guess we'll do the 14th first.
You sent them, or you, have
I
you?
sent them in an email when I sent the agenda,
yeah, they're,
for those of you that haven't subscribed yet.
yeah. I read them. I don't know if anybody else did.
What, the 14th and the, yeah,
19th, yeah,
14th is one page,
yep.
but the 19th.
19th isn't that long either.
Yeah, I've got the ones for the 14th. Can we find anything on those, on the 14th? I didn't see anything.
Which ones you doing
The
first?
14th,
Okay.
yeah. Make a motion that we accept the minutes of 8:14 as presented.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Abstain?
I abstain.
Yeah, you weren't here, right? No. Okay, the next one's are the 19th.
I move that we accept the minutes of August 19th.
No corrections? Okay. I'll second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Got 4?
yep.
Now, the manifest, have we signed everything?
I
Did you
believe
find the
so.
school?
I haven't gone back through.
The
I
school one's envelope is missing.
Yeah,
The school envelope is blank.
Well, I gotta look.
look again for
Want me
the
to look now?
manifest.
Well, just, I want to make sure we have enough signatures, because I don't want to be chasing you guys.
Yeah. I know I signed them and John signed them when I had,
I guess.
Well, you want to skip the manifest for a minute, do the administrator's report? Or- Or,
We can just wait a second, I need to
Okay.
catch up anyway.
One school.
you did this
So that's
one.
what you're talking
There's
about.
two.
I
yeah,
need the MS1 with
that's
enough
all signed,
signatures,
that's got all
too.
the signatures, so.
Can you pass the one, or check the one with the Weare School District? just to make sure?
Yeah, that got put in there today.
Yeah, so he didn't sign that one. I knew there was one.
And the MS one was all the signatures?
Yep.
Hold on a minute.
I just want to, before we move on one at a time. After I do my report and other business, we do have a non-public with Chief Moore that we'll go
Again?
into. I think I have there's two, if I'm not mistaken from our conversation. I have an A and a C and a C.
Okay. But he doesn't know the numbers, so,
Okay.
yeah, okay.
We talked today about them.
Okay.
Yeah.
The only thing you're gonna see on your manifest, Jack, is,
Yes, I see it.
there's, on the manifest, the fire department, I haven't seen their payables yet.
Yep,
And Beth has put a little note there, up to the following amount pending approval by BOFW.
yep.
I haven't seen it from the BOFW.
No, they haven't brought it in.
They usually run it over here, and they're
Yeah.
meeting tonight too,
Yeah.
so. So in your motion, I would suggest that you say that as it's
Yeah.
written there,
Yep, okay.
only because,
We don't know what the,
well, I mean,
we haven't got them.
they haven't even come back
Is that
yet.
the one for the school? I think it all, it's got enough signatures. There's nothing else in there? This is the one?
No, this is only for $189. This is not.
No. That's all signed too.
Yeah.
So the manifest for the school district is amongst the missing.
Well,
See if they got put in the wrong folder or something, I don't know.
Yeah, because there were two, one was for Weare School and one was for John Stark.
Here it is right here.
Oh, you found it?
This is in the wrong folder.
Yeah, that's been signed.
should be a check plus 2 copies?
Yeah.
Yeah. Johnny hasn't signed this. Janet, John, do you want to sign this?
Yeah, it wasn't there.
Yeah,
Right,
it goes in that one.
because he was here the 24th.
Who's on
Didn't
first?
get done till today.
The rest have 3?
Yeah, it's got 3 on it anyway, so.
I know, but the rest of those have
Yep.
3? Okay, you can go ahead, I guess.
Okay.
You gotta take a long breath.
Okay. The manifest. This is to order the treasurer to sign payroll and accounts payable checks dated August 29th, 2019, as included in the following manifests. Payroll manifest for $53,454.35. That's weekly payroll. The supplemental payroll manifest is $189.18. The accounts payable manifest is $163,169.26. The supplemental accounts payable manifest is $36.50. The fire department's accounts payable manifest, this is up to the following amount pending approval by the Board of Fire Wards, is $3,005.38. Also included in this is the John Stark Regional Manifest for $250,000. The Weare School District Manifest for $600,000, for a total of $1,069,854.67. And the following manifests were previously ordered to be signed on August 12th by the Board of Selectmen. Was the payroll manifest of $59,531.21. That was for payroll checks dated 8/22/19. The accounts payable manifest for $43,943.76, and that was for checks dated 8/22/19. As there is no selectmen's meeting scheduled for Monday, September 2nd, 2019, we'd like to order the treasurer to sign payroll checks dated September 5th, estimated to be about $65,000. Furthermore, to order the treasurer to sign up to the amount of $70,000 for accounts payable that cannot wait until the next scheduled meeting. Reports and actual check amounts will be reported to the Board of Selectmen by inclusion on the manifest memo at the next scheduled meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Is that 4?
Yep.
Yeah.
I never can hear all 4 of you.
Done.
I have one, so you can have it.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Next.
I handed you around before 2, we'll do the government building ones, seeing how that list is getting shorter. The town hall, I did receive a phone call from, it's not Walker Roofing anymore, it's something else, Reliable.
Yep.
They would like to come out and sit down and discuss, which I was gonna send them the pictures of what needs to be done next and kind of get a price together. As we've talked about before, you know, we have a little less than $60,000 in that fund. So some of these projects we're gathering numbers for to put CIP requests together. And we'll see what that one takes. He's coming, I think, it's the week of the 16th of September he's coming out.
Okay.
Gordon Brown Barnes, as you know, John Van and Drone don't need the 7 in there. I don't know why that says that. And I guess while we're on that topic, I received a phone call today regarding some prices that someone received. Is it all right if I mention your name? All right. Tim Matheson called me today, and he had solicited some prices from some individuals as a result of some of the discussion with the drone pictures. There's the Brown Barn on East Road. The first section of the barn is to be painted with the donated pails of the aluminum coat material, some prep work, and there's a price here, but I don't know that I'm going to say the price. That's less than the other price, and it's not a replacement. I'm trying to be vague because purposely. So there's a price for that. There was also, hang on, a price. Oh, here we go. There's the eyebrow dormers on the town buildings that were shown in the pictures of the drone.
Yep.
As possible leakage or rotting.
Yep.
There's a price.
That's check and advise level.
What's that?
That's a check and advise.
Oh,
He wants to get into the
yeah.
attic.
So he wants to get in the attic and look at it to see what's going on. And then the last one is the Clinton Grove Academy Bell Tower base prep, prime, and paint. This would be his cost to do that, but the added cost, which I don't have it yet, I'd have to see what was used for paint and primer and get a price for the paint, because I get a cost for labor, but not for materials.
Right.
So, and I'm not saying his name, not saying the amounts. I just want to know that we have those.
Okay.
I mean,
Show them the amount, Mommy?
I can pass it around. I can pass around the note. So that takes care of some of these other issues. You know, I guess we'd look at the town hall ceiling and walls. If he's a painter, we could probably get a price for that too, in my office.
Okay.
Propane conversion, I'm still trying to get 2 more from 2 other companies. I've got Irving's number, but I've got Eastern and Rhymes to talk to as well, to have a number. The doghouse, I call it the doghouse, you call it what you want, to put, the DPW agreed to do it in the fall, so
Okay.
we were gonna do that. Town hall sign we talked about.
Yeah. Well, that one's on
The
its
air
way.
conditioners, I honestly didn't have a chance to call any of them back, but, do you want to do one, or do you want to look at more? I think we'll look at more and do the whole project. It might be not just taking them by 6.
Yep.
Because I'll be quite honest with you, you're going to have another one in the upstairs. There is no AC in the Selectmen Secretary's room, and it gets bitterly hot in there.
Yeah.
up where Mary was.
How about in the other room?
In the other room, there's none in the conservation either.
The conservation
No.
session, okay.
And I think the one in Beth's room is undersized
Yeah,
for that size room because she can run it and it doesn't hardly ever take it out. And then what I did is I added Kyle's name to that other one we've talked about on the bottom because Kyle can oversee and review the projects,
Yep.
just so we don't forget him. So you guys can take that into, as you pass it down. The next one, I don't know that we've made a huge change other than we've probably got Hometown Hero. We've passed that nomination off to Granite State, and I think you guys all got an invite to go. I think that's what it is. It's on the September 14th, and they do it about lunchtime, so if you wanted to go and watch the person that you've selected get his award,
Yep.
that would be fine. We talked about COLA 6 with the gentleman that was here. CIP, we've still got some projects we're working on. The 2020 deliberative session, the ACO, I'm sorry, I'm gonna hop back up to 7, that's gonna be taken off our list tonight.
yeah, who?
One down. I honestly think SEDS can come off, to be honest with you, because the SEDS project is on the Southern Hampshire,
your
if you want to
website.
look at it.
Yep.
What that was, if you remember, that was a community economic development, and we put in a couple projects, but it never made the mustard.
Yep.
So, I mean, instead of taking up space, and then I can continue to update as we get more to the e-subscribe. I'm gonna leave it on there and change the numbers like every quarter or something and let you know. Tax deeded auction, we're still gonna push forward with November 16th. 2020 deliberative session I told you about, Saturday, February 8th. The concern there is you also wanna mark your calendar for Tuesday after that, because that's the presidential primary.
And that's gonna be what?
That's February 11th. And then, I sent
That's
out
a
an
lot.
email to you regarding, the next meeting. So typically, if you look at the calendar, we would go to the 9th.
Yep.
I'm out of town the 9th, so I asked Ricky about possibly moving it to the 5th, just to cover the 9th.
February 5th you're talking?
February 5th?
No.
Oh, you're talking, oh, you're not talking that
No,
anyway, you're
sorry,
talking.
I moved off.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't,
Oh, no.
I'm
Yeah.
good for doing that, yeah.
Yeah, you know, I know where you are,
Squirrel.
I know where you are now.
Yeah, okay.
So I had, Ricky was okay with it when we first talked.
Yeah.
I mean, you're more than welcome to meet without me, but he said he's fine with moving the 9th to the
Yep.
12th. I mean, 9th to the 5th,
Fifth.
Jesus.
She's not, you're starting.
So that, actually, when Jack and I talked this morning, spurred another conversation of when are we going back to the weekly? And I'll let you take it from there, because you had a conversation with Mr.
Yeah, I had
Chairman.
a conversation with Ricky about it, and I guess if it's okay with everybody else, until after Columbus Day. After Columbus Day is come and gone, then we'll start back every week. And then possibly, I don't know, food for thought, maybe we can discuss it when Ricky gets back again, but after the first of the year, after deliberative session, go back to every other week.
Sounds
We
good.
can keep up with it, yep. And,
I can do some research if you'd like to know how
Yeah.
many towns do. I could ask what they meet.
I mean, like I said,
Because a lot of them only meet bi-weekly anyway,
I brought it up.
as a rule.
But that little town phone book they put out in town
Years ago.
a few years ago, that had it in it, the selectmen's meet every other Monday, so, but, I mean, I know Ricky doesn't think we've been getting a lot done, but I think we've whittled this list down quite a bit this summer, so, and if
Well, I think we've whittled down to what we have money for.
we have money for, and the other
No, I
thing is,
think-
I think that, if we need to, we can always, we've done that, had another
We
meeting
fit
in
Call an
between.
extra meeting in, yeah.
We fit in extra meat. The other, so like whittling down, I mean, I think we did quite a few, and I think going forward with the idea of having a project in mind for capital improvements, it's not just
We
the
have
amount
to-
of money blindly going into an account.
Yeah.
So I think then,
We
when
have to
we
look
get
at
some
that.
quotes, we have to decide what we're gonna do for the next year. But, I mean, I think we did get some jobs done. There's only so much money, as we know.
Right.
But we also had some unexpected bumps along the way.
Right.
We weren't expecting the well at the library, you know.
Yeah, that was a biggie.
And we still haven't faced the music yet for the furnace at the Southwest Station.
No.
I haven't
Right.
seen or heard from that.
No.
So, so although,
And I know
I know those are, appear very, relatively inexpensive.
Right.
I don't know what the paint would cost, because I don't know what was used before.
It was
Oh, at the Clinton Grove.
It was the premium paint? Okay. Well,
And you can verify that with Tim.
well, I would.
Yeah.
And I could probably call Country 3, because that's where I think we got it all.
I think two important things on here were the, he does have the proof of insurance.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then, he's done historical work too before, or he's worked on historical
He has, or
buildings.
check? He has done it?
Yes, it
Okay.
says Hillsborough, am I correct?
Okay,
Most of the Upper Hillsborough Village.
Yeah, the Hillsborough,
okay.
okay. So, I just wanted to
Yeah,
put that
yeah,
in.
Okay.
So that's actually the completion of my list. I do have, one for correspondence.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
Yeah, I have a,
Oh, actually, you can read the bottom. Kind of. I'm
Yep,
gonna
your
be-
schedule.
I'm gonna be taken off.
Yeah,
So I
okay.
let you know.
yeah, under the correspondence,
Announce it.
another business, well, I mean, part of it was the pictures that came in the email from that woman tonight.
Lisa.
Lisa, and I want to thank her for that, because that, you know, I see the problem, and I've been
No, the
down.
video didn't work for me. It was
No, it
just a
didn't, it was,
snapshot.
it would go off and on, but I got the gist of it, but, about I've been down there anyway with the planning board and looked at it, and that road's terrible. But, and I don't know what the rest of the board thinks about it, but I don't think we should be issuing building permits until the road's up to a standard, so we can
I
get people
agree.
down through there. Or we're gonna end up in the same debacle, like I said, and I hate to keep picking on East Shore
Right.
Drive, but
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
the
it's a
best
mess.
one. And I mean,
Yeah.
the other one was like getting a driveway standard for 12 feet to go up on Worthley Road, which is a town road too.
Right.
That's not a
That's
driveway. And I
1,200
think
feet.
It's
That was like-
that's 1,200 feet. I mean, no. You know, even if it was 300 feet, no, because it's not a driveway, it's a town road. And I mean, you know, I'm looking at it further down the road that someday we may get
Right.
stuck having this as a town road, and you don't want to start putting more money in, you know, have the town start to put money into it and put it on the taxpayers' back.
Well, I hadn't been on East Shore Drive since my kids were in school, because I
Take a ride up
really had
there.
no reason to go up there, right? But actually, I went on a non-weekend
Yeah.
day, and it really wasn't that bad at that
Good thing.
point. Yes.
But go up there on a weekend when they're packed
Oh,
out
yeah,
everywhere.
everywhere. I mean, and you can see where they've made parking spots,
Oh, yeah, they just whittled it out.
Yeah.
The other thing too is, you know, going back into the correspondence of the business, what John Van said, you know, again, yes, I don't want to see it discussed about the radio system. I mean, we've had this discussion now when I first got on the board, and
Right.
again, you know, and I'm all in favor, it's a life safety issue for all of our employees, that emergency services, that's fire, police, and highway, they're all emergency services, first responders, and if we don't have a radio system, a radio net that works, then, you know, we might as well go back to tin cans and a string, because that's about what we've got. And I think that's something we probably ought to push forward to make sure it gets into the capital improvement project.
Actually,
Or
Chris-
look,
I was gonna.
or look at a
From
different
our
vendor.
comments.
I know that, and I know that the chairman has complained, and it's been complained from the other departments about our vendor, and it doesn't seem to be getting any better. It seems to be throwing, I think we've thrown some good money, and after bad, it hasn't, it's improved it a little bit, but not what it should be.
Can we meet with the fire chief, the police chief, and the
They have their own, they have
DPW?
their own communications committee, I
Well,
know that they do,
We,
so.
we talked about that, because all this hit the fan when Chief wasn't here.
Yep,
So I think you and I talked one day while you were gone,
Yeah.
and our idea, because fire department is looking at a different option, and I think they're looking at a possible location on a cell tower or two,
Yeah. it's-
versus the voter sites.
And I know that
And so we were just gonna bring it full circle with the both chiefs and myself to see that we're all on the same page, because I believe
Oh, that's right.
one of your guys has talked with the chief a little bit too, right? Yeah,
We bought, certain,
Frisbee.
was it Frisbee?
I think Frisbee talked with
I
him.
thought Austin talked to him.
Well, either one. But I think the conversation has started, but I don't want to see two different directions headed
Exactly.
either.
Yes,
I
that's
think-
what
And
I was
we have
hoping.
had some conversation before Chief Moore is, Jack Dearborn from CIP got involved with this study of how it all, you know, how much area you get and where everything
It's-
goes. But unfortunately, terrain is a huge issue here.
It's like, the state is famous for that, because I know
And-
I've
and
been
you
involved
can,
in that over the years.
You know, if you look at the cell phone, nobody's putting up cell phone towers anymore, but if you look in the regulations for your wireless communication in your zoning, when those cell towers came in, we should have made the fire, police, highway get an antenna spot
Available, have the availability
while the
for
crane
that.
was here setting it up.
Yeah.
Now it's costly to do it, and in our regulations require that you afford that to the safety services. I know it didn't get done, now we're chasing it, but it's just, it is something that we're gonna have a conversation with now that he's
Yeah,
back.
it is.
And-
I know
and
it's expensive.
That's what, I think it needs to start, whether we bring in, I don't think Benji's part of it, it's more, there's a
Well,
lot of pieces to the puzzle here.
I don't know how his radio net works, but I mean, he's all over town, sometimes in worse places than the fire and the police, so I think he, if nothing else, if he has a breakdown someplace, they can't even get on a cell phone, he's got.
But it's not even that. I mean, if they've got an issue and the road's not plowed and somebody's got a safety,
Or call
somebody's
them,
got to go in
call
and
them,
get
yeah.
somebody with a heart attack, they got to be able to reach
so I
him to
mean,
Which is
plow.
why the forestry truck's been used before to plow in
Right.
on behalf of the fire department. But,
I don't think it hurts to bring him
there's a
in.
lot of moving parts.
Oh, no question.
You've got dispatching, you've got, that's not in a town.
Yeah.
The two right now are with dispatch. I know there's a lot of discussion about capital area with the fire department.
Discussion
And
with the
that's a lot of money, but at the same time, cheap is not best, you know that.
And
So I think there's a lot of discussion that is been started, and there's a lot of work started doing something different on the fire side, but bringing
well-
Chief Moore and Chief Vizina together, I think, is key, and Benji as well,
Yep.
so.
There's a lot of moving pieces in that. The radio net is
Yep.
very integral and as to what's gonna take place as far as.
So it's not being
services.
ignored, it's just
I
trying
just,
to get
no, I'm
everybody
not
on the
saying
same
it is. I
page.
just think
Yeah.
is that we've gotta be a more
Trying to get everybody on the same
proactive a
page.
little bit more and get forward on
Right.
it, so.
Well,
In
But to be
in
able-
response to that to John, and I think, and it has been discussed and discussed and discussed, and
Right.
it kinda goes and it dies on the vine, and then,
Yeah.
I think we've.
Is-
Well,
And
it
so there's
seems
an
like they're happy and
Now-
then not happy.
Now there's an emergency, and that brought a lot of
Right.
deficiencies to the forefront, and I think it's something that we have to do. So
But
just
the-
in the answer to that part from John, I think this,
yeah, I didn't see Chief Vizina today to ask that question as to what,
Yeah.
so.
and we're trying to work out some other things differently.
But there has to be similar terrain in other towns in New Hampshire, and
Well, it's the state's.
should really try to find
The
out
state-
who installed that equipment, because I don't
I
think we've
could-
got the right people yet.
I can tell you some of it that was installed by, and some of it was installed by Ossipee Mountain, because they did a lot of it for the state. And I was involved in part of that project, it was 20 years ago now, but when they did it all over, and the person that, from our agency that oversaw that, had the foresight to decide, that there were cell towers going up, and that we allowed the cell companies to go on our towers, is what it boiled down to, and they put the towers up for us. They paid for it for the benefit of being on there, and they did that to most of them. So, I mean, so that's how you beat some of the cost. And it took care of the issue for, coverage. The coverage jumped, 110% to what it was before that. So, I mean, when you have a tower on the top of a mountain, and it's covering these areas, it works a lot better than it was.
Tree canopy has a lot to do with it.
Tree
Trees
canopy, yeah,
grow
when
all
you,
the
when you
time.
don't have them, when you have them on the top, or high over the top of land, I mean, you can, well, you referred to your father, and back in the days where it was, the county dispatch did it, and it was on the repeater.
My
and that
mother
would-
did.
Or your mother did some of it, but they had Florence do it here in
My mother
town.
was the Florence in New Boston.
And they accessed the repeater system, which was on the top of Mount Uncanunic, which, if you had a bed spring, you could pick up anything off of that from here to the seacoast. I mean, and that's the fact. You
Yeah.
could get them all the way to the seacoast, and if you couldn't get them on that one, you had Pac-Monadnock over in Peterborough. So either one of them, but a lot of that's gone away, as times change, more, the departments get bigger and bigger, they have to have something.
Technology too
And
changes all the
technology
time.
changes, so, you can't have the Florences anymore as much as you'd love to still days, You didn't have the street address, she was like your own 911 operator,
You
she'd
knew
tell
where
you.
to go.
She'd tell you it was the red house with the, with the picket fence with 6 of the pickets
Right.
missing, or something, and you knew. I mean, I knew that, she'd tell me at 2:00 in the morning if I got called out, and I'd go there, so I mean, but times change, so, but I think,
So it's not a dead end. I
It's
just
not a
didn't have an
dead issue.
answer
No,
as to
and I
where
think
we
that
are.
there's
Because
an
we
answer.
haven't sat down together.
No, there's the answer, and I think we're not gonna let it die this time. I
No.
mean,
Right. And I think that's what John was
and the biggest thing
asking
is, I
for.
think, like you said, we gotta find the money for it, and probably going
Well, I was
through.
just gonna ask, is there any way of
CIP
getting
stuff.
any grant money for
The
that?
grants come very little on that, and a lot of it's more for the portables and the mobiles, lots
I was
of
gonna
times
say, we
more
did a
than the
grant
base
for the,
stations, and we did it before.
No, we did one just recently when Mike French was here for the, I think, inoperability with
Yeah.
the state.
And some of that has to do, a lot of it with some of the portables and the mobiles, and
It's worth looking into, though.
but it's the other hardware, that's where the money is. The hardware's in the stuff
Sure.
that's the remote sites on the mountain, or on a hill
We don't
someplace.
even know what we need.
No, until we do somebody that, and it's easy to do it, until we get somebody, easy to say to do it, until we get somebody does this for business, not
Yeah.
just have a patrolman go out and do it, because you'll miss a spot. They can do a lot more with the technology, so. But again, I'd like to, just make sure that,
Yeah, we're
again, it's
moving
not
forward.
an
I just
issue.
didn't have an answer that I
Yep.
could really say anything.
No, but
I mean, I didn't know what the answer was.
he wasn't, I don't think he was more concerned that we weren't gonna let it die. and
No, no.
That's all I had.
I have one correspondence, and you all got it. Tuesday, August 20th, you received, says, "Dear board members, I'll be resigning from the cable committee effective
yeah.
immediately. I'd like to thank the board for supporting equipment purchases and recognizing the benefit of rebroadcasting meetings on YouTube. Sincerely, Richard Butt." I mean, I'd like to take and thank Richard as well, because Richard was
It was all- yeah.
very, he was very, you all saw Doug tried to get him to reconsider. He
Yeah.
was a huge help at town meeting.
Yeah, he was, and
He did at the patriotic celebration. He came over and taped the swearing in. He taped the
and he kept us.
parade. He also had started a Where We Were
Yeah.
program, which was
candidate.
very interesting, meet the candidates, so.
And I know he's done a lot as far as upgrade
Yep,
with the
yep.
equipment, for
Right.
this, for
Yeah.
the microphones and
Right.
all the
So
other
I'd like
stuff
to
at the
thank
school.
him. I'd
Me
also
too.
like him to reconsider, but
Yeah, me too.
And I spoke to Doug tonight outside the town hall, and he still hasn't heard anything from him, but he'd
Yeah.
like him to come back too, so.
okay, well, Dick, if you listen, we'd like you to come back. That's all I had.
Okay.
So then, Mr. Moore, Chief Moore needs a non-public under A and C.
If there's nothing else,
We're going to adjourn after?
yep, we'll adjourn. I'd like to go into non-public under RSA 91A3, A and C. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And at the end of that, we will adjourn.